This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dana Kozlov.
And I'm Adriana Sinclair. Thank you for being with us this morning here at 9. And another flight scare when a Southwest plane and private jet barely miss each other. This morning, we are live at Midway, learning passengers didn't even know that a near collision had happened.
And the results are in for primary races across Illinois, including a landslide victory in Dalton.
And as we take a live look outside, most of the rain has moved out, but we are still having those mild temperatures. They're sticking around for us, thank goodness.
Let's toss it over to Laura. Good morning, Laura,
hey,
with more on the forecast.
Yeah.
And the rain leaving.
And rain and some sunshine out there. Have to head out toward DeKalb. That's where we do see those clouds clearing. So I do think we're going to get into a little bit of sun today, but those clouds, man, we're seeing lots of that all around Chicago. Here's a look at the rain that we had earlier this morning that's now out over the lake. That batch of rain up toward Wisconsin, too. That's also going to be scooting on out of here. So we're a bit of in a dry spell right now. There's still going to be that small chance for a few showers here or there, but overall I think the bulk of that rain is now out of here. 30s and 40s now, so we're above the norm. We're going to make way up into the middle upper 40s, close to 50 here this afternoon. Small rain chance that'll take us through the evening hours, mainly dry from now until then. Tomorrow and Friday is going to be our final days where we see at least temperatures above the norm, where we're headed, and the colder changes that follow coming up here in my next report.
All right, Laura, thank you. We'll see you soon. Well, this morning we're taking a look at election results following primaries happening across the Chicago area.
In South Suburban Dalton, controversial incumbent Mayor Tiffany Henyard lost her seat. Dalton trustee Jason House, her former ally, is now the Democratic nominee. House will go up against an independent candidate for the general election in April.
Darius Johnson live at Dalton Village Hall. And Darius, while the controversy continues there and investigations continue, the race really not over yet.
Hey there, ladies. Yes, no, not at all. It wasn't even 24 hours ago, or it was more than 24 hours ago at this point in time when Tiffany Henyard told me that she would win by a landslide. That was indeed the case last night, but it was not in her favor.
We faced 4 years of intimidation, 4 years of failure, and tonight is the new day for the community of Dalton.
Former ally Jason House picked up 88% of the vote. Tiffany Henyard received 12%, which was less than about 1,000 votes. This is the latest blow for Henyard, who was investigated by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and Lightfoot found widespread financial mismanagement under Henyard. Meanwhile, House ran a campaign with the slogan "Clean House," with plans to correct the village's financial crisis and provide more transparency. Just last night, he addressed supporters after claiming victory, dancing out to Kendrick Lamar's "They Not Like Us."
I feel ecstatic. The voters have spoken. They've spoken in a loud way, and I've said it before and I'll always say it. This does not represent Dalton. We had one rogue individual. I'm sure Dalton is proud, and we are happy that we're ready to change the narrative.
Tiffany Henyard was a no-show at her own after party just down the street that she invited us to live on our air. We covered that event, we showed up, and inside you can see there were only less than a handful of supporters who showed up. Back out here live this morning, Tiffany Henyard still remains under investigation by the FBI. Meanwhile, for Jason House, he will move on to the general election, which is scheduled for April. That's where he will face independent candidate Cassandra Hobson Jordan. Meanwhile, we've reached out to Tiffany Henyard for comment about last night's results. We have yet to hear back. We're live in Dalton this morning. I'm Darius Johnson, CBS News Chicago.
Thank you so much, Darius. We'll see if we hear from Mayor Henyard. And here are the results of some other elections. In West Suburban Aurora, incumbent Mayor Richard Irvin will face Navy veteran and local school board member John Lash in a runoff. Irvin had 40% of the vote. Lash had 33% of the vote. And Cicero Town President Larry Dominic will stay put. He won a 6th term in the mayoral election in that western suburb. He's been on the job now for 20 years. He beat Esteban Rodriguez, who was executive director of a youth-focused nonprofit.
And just next door in Berwyn, incumbent Mayor Roberto Lavero appears to have won 54% of the vote, avoiding a runoff election. Second place challenger Rafael Ralph Avila got a little more than a third of the vote there. Now, coming up at 9:30, we are talking with the former head of the Illinois Republican Party. He's our political analyst, to break down the results and also the really low voter turnout.
And now to your nonstop news. A woman shot another woman in the North Lawndale neighborhood earlier this morning. Chicago police say the two were arguing in a home at Tripp and 14th. The victim went outside just before 1 a.m. when that other woman came up to her on the sidewalk and shot her in the chest. The shooter ran off. Police are looking for her, and at last check, the victim was in critical condition. And two people are pushed onto the L tracks. Chicago police say it happened after a fight along the Blue Line around 3 a.m. Officers are still investigating, but believe a man pushed a woman and a man on the tracks at the Harlem stop along the Kennedy. The man and woman hurt their ankles, but we're told they are in good condition at the hospital. Police do have a suspect in custody. Charges are pending.
Crews finished clearing up those steel pipes after a crash on the outbound Kennedy near Lake. Here's some video from that. Illinois State Police say the crash happened last night, but our Chris Habermill told you all morning that the cleanup forced 2 lanes to close. That led to some big delays on the Kennedy for hours. Everything is all clear now if you are heading out. And this morning, investigators still want to know how this happened. A near miss at Midway Airport between a private jet and a Southwest flight.
Our Marissa Perlman is live at Midway right now. She heard from passengers who were actually on that flight, right, Marissa? And some of them were taken totally by surprise.
That's right. Can't even imagine being on that plane in that moment, based on what we know now. But some of those passengers actually tell us they didn't really know what was going on, find out the scope of all of this until hours after this flight actually landed. So the investigation, where it stands right now, the NTSB and the FAA will be handling this. And they're trying to find out how this business jet got access to the runway here without authorization. Southwest Flight 2504 was heading from Omaha here to Chicago Midway. The video shows the moments their plane tried to land at Midway when that private jet starts taxiing across the runway. 2504 was just feet from the ground when that pilot takes back up the plane to avoid the jet. Passengers on board tell us there were about 100 people on the plane at the time, and despite knowing something wasn't exactly right, they tell us nobody panicked.
I always say a prayer before I travel all the time anyway, which is good. And then of course said another little prayer after the accelerated, because I knew there was something not right. And then the pilot did come on and say that there was a plane on the runway. It took another 10 minutes. We had to circle back around and land, but it was pretty amazingly calm on the flight.
Southwest says their crew performed a precautionary go-around to avoid the other aircraft here. Now, we spoke with a pilot and former air traffic controller who says what the pilot did was textbook, and the private jet pilot likely didn't look both ways.
They did a perfect go-around. They would have absolutely seen the Southwest jet about to land on the runway because the visibility is incredible today.
Now, transportation experts do say that flying is still very safe despite all of these aviation accidents we've been talking about. They say none of them are connected. There is no pattern here. Now, we want to let you know we just heard from President Trump via the Truth Social app about this incident. He writes, "Great job by the Southwest pilots in Chicago. A nearly tragic close call. Perhaps suspend the pilot's license on the other plane, who may have been, quote, sleeping." Now, the private jet company FlexJet says they are now conducting their own internal investigation into all of this and say they will, quote, rectify the situation. We're live at Midway. I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS News Chicago.
All right, Marissa, thank you. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu testified in a Tel Aviv court today as part of his corruption trial. He's accused of giving out regulatory favors to millionaire friends who got him favorable news coverage. Netanyahu said he was only an acquaintance of a co-defendant. The 78-year-old is the first sitting Israeli Prime Minister to be charged with a crime, and his testimony is scheduled to resume on Monday. And Israel and Hamas could exchange the bodies of 4 hostages for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners as early as tonight. They are the last bodies included in the phase of the ceasefire with Israel. The 42-day truce is set to expire this weekend. And Pope Francis still in critical but stable condition, according to doctors, as he continues to recover from pneumonia. A spokesperson for the Vatican says the 88-year-old pontiff had no new respiratory episodes yesterday. They added the Pope is actually mobile and continues to work despite how ill he is.
President Donald Trump is holding his first cabinet meeting today, and Elon Musk, the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, will have a seat. As Jared Hill explains, it comes amid new scrutiny over the power that DOGE has.
Ahead of the first cabinet meeting of his second term today, President Donald Trump is backing senior advisor Elon Musk's demand, requiring federal workers send a list of what they accomplished on the job last week.
Well, it's somewhat voluntary, but it's also if you don't answer, I guess you get fired.
With the deadline extended, the White House says more than 1 million responses have already come in. Now, the administration is preparing to direct federal agencies to submit reorganization plans by March 13th and to prepare for sweeping reductions in force. Tuesday, 21 career government staffers resigned from DOGE, writing they refused to compromise core government systems, jeopardize American sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services.
They've created a toxic work environment, and nobody wants to work under those conditions.
Though Elon Musk has been the face, the White House now says Amy Gleason, a staffer from the first Trump term, is the acting administrator of DOGE. President Trump stressed he's in charge as congressional Republicans push for change in tone.
The buck stops here.
Also Tuesday, the president announced a gold card visa is in the works for wealthy immigrants. The price tag, $5 million.
It's going to be a route to citizenship. The people will be vetted very carefully.
The money collected, he says, would help pay down the federal deficit. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Also yesterday, the White House announced it's making changes to who covers the president in person and who doesn't. The Trump administration says it will now decide which reporters can join the daily press pool and directly ask the president questions. For decades, that had been the responsibility of the Independent White House Correspondents Association.
A select group of D.C.-based journalists should no longer have a monopoly over the privilege of press access at the White House. All journalists, outlets, and voices deserve a seat at this highly coveted table.
The White House insists it will retain a rotating slot for the 5 major TV networks. Now, this latest move, combined with the White House banning the Associated Press from presidential events because it refuses to say Gulf of America has free speech and free press advocates concerned. Some media experts say it raises troubling First Amendment issues since the president is choosing who gets to cover him.
Well, new developments this morning in the trial against the man charged in the Highland Park parade shooting.
We're learning when opening statements could start. Plus, tips for filing your tax returns. Money expert Jill Schlesinger joins us live with advice to maximize your refund.
Well, it's one of our absolutely least favorite times of the year, at least for me. It's tax time, and the filing deadline, April 15th, is going to be here before you know it, I promise. It's going to come in fast.
It comes fast if you're wondering where to start or how to maximize your refund if you get one. We've got you covered this morning. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us live to break down what you need to know. Good morning, Jill. The Trump administration has made major job cuts at the IRS. Now, should we prepare for delays this tax season? And this is coming off of several years where there were already delays in place.
Right. The IRS had just dug out after the COVID delays. But I think for most people, if you file electronically and you use direct deposit, you'll likely avoid the headache of a delay. And remember, if you are due a refund and that's how you file, you should get it within 21 days. One note about those refund checks that you all love so much, I hate them. Because you know what a refund is? It is essentially you getting your money back after loaning it to the government without any interest. So if you change your withholding, if you make these adjustments, just think about when you have the money throughout the year, you might be able to pay more down towards your debt, or you might earn some interest or put some extra money in your retirement account. So don't applaud the refund. Make sure it doesn't happen next year.
Yeah, good point. You get your money back and you're like, oh, thank you. Well, what free resources are
Mike,
there?
thank you to me.
Exactly, exactly. Let's talk about free resources that people might be able to use to help file their taxes.
Oh, I got a bunch. We've got the IRS Free File program. That's where you have online products. If you made less than $84,000 last year, you just go to irs.gov/free file to see if you qualify. There's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, VITA. That is free tax help to people who generally make $67,000 or less. those who have disabilities, and also limited English speaking taxpayers can get help. This next program, I don't love the name of it, gang. Tax counseling for the elderly. Elderly, not a great word, gotta tell you. Well, anyway, this program provides free tax help for individuals who are 60 years of age and older. As someone who's smacking up against that age, we're not elderly, but these folks do specialize in questions about pensions and retirement-related issues that are unique to seniors. And by the way, the Department of Defense has a wonderful program. It's called MilTax. Free return preparation, electronic filing software for federal returns, and up to 3 state income tax returns for all military members, some veterans without any income limits. The MilTax program is great.
Great, resources there for sure. I know there are new rules for people who have earned money by selling things online. Lots of people do that. What are those rules, Jill?
So there used to be a threshold where if you sold more than $20,000 worth of stuff or services, you'd get a tax form from an online platform. Well, that threshold of $20,000 is dropping now to $5,000. So that means income you receive from online sales of concert tickets or goods or services, all that is taxable. But because of that lower threshold, you might actually get a tax form from, say, PayPal or eBay. 1099K is the name of the form. And by the way, that threshold is dropping in the future. I think it's actually best practice for taxes, whether or not you receive a 1099K, just report the income you receive on your tax return. If you're a small business owner, you know that the income can be offset by the costs or expenses, but just put it down just in case. You don't want to be looking at the IRS sending you a letter next year saying, oh, you forgot to report your income.
All right, Jill, thank you so much. Really great tips, so helpful. And you can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings if you want more helpful tips like that.
Let's toss it over to Laura Bannon now for a look at our forecast. Laura?
Yeah, and our 10-day temperature trends looking pretty nice, especially over the next 3 days. We do have temps that are still above the norm, going up near 60 by Friday. Then we take a sharp drop going into the weekend, but things are going to be nice and quiet, a little bit closer to average, which is at 40 degrees. And next week, as we get deeper into March, that first week, we do find temps once again that are going to be above where they should be. Little rain earlier this morning, and we are seeing that now out over the lake, so we do break out into a little sunshine, but we do see clouds locked in pretty tight across parts of the area. Because of the clouds that we do have, it is cooler from where we were at this point yesterday, especially lighter along the shoreline here this morning. 40s mostly, with the exception up toward Waukegan, where it's 37, 41 in the Loop, it's 43 Aurora, 30s to Northwest Indiana, LaPorte sitting at 36 degrees. We'll hold a small shower chance throughout the rest of the day. Even by this evening, there may be a quick brief shower that comes on through. Otherwise, we have dry skies, expecting mainly dry conditions through the rest of the day going into tonight and again for tomorrow. 47 for the high today, a range in temperatures to the south, likely going to be warmer, getting into the mid-50s. Tonight, 36 degrees, similar to the temperatures that we woke up to earlier this morning, some 30s and some 40s, going into the upper 40s for highs tomorrow. Breezy day, winds northwest at 15 to 20, so wind chills will be a factor throughout your day tomorrow. But that's not going to be the case as we head into Friday. Those winds shift. We've got a warmer wind in there, and it's going to be fairly windy for Friday. Could see some wind gusts between 40, potentially 50 miles per hour. The results, we get close to 60 degrees for a high. Colder on Saturday, breezy, a high of 34, upper 30s, quick warm up as we transition, head into next week. Small shower chance on Monday, late Monday, better chances on Tuesday, but temperatures are expected to head back up into the 40s and 50s. So a snowless forecast, which is music to all our ears, Chris.
I hope you like spending time outside in the car because that snowless forecast is still kind of squishy and wet after this morning's rain shower activity went through, and boy did it lay waste to the morning commute. Take a look at the maps here. We've got lots and lots of red. Core expressways or parking lots all over the place. We've got a crash here they're working on it on the westbound side of 8094, backing up pretty solid from just before Indianapolis Boulevard, taken from Kennedy Avenue all the way over to Torrance. And it crashed in the 2 center lanes. Just getting late word they have moved that to the right shoulder. Back on the Illinois side of the line, don't forget to right, especially on the Kennedy. Wow, pound for pound, that is packed. So fortunately, no other lane blockage incidents right now. Chris Habermill, CBS News Chicago.
Chris, thank you so much. Well, we have some breaking news we want to tell you about. A person has died from the measles in West Texas, where there's been an outbreak. It's been spreading since late last month, and this is the first fatality. More than 124 people are infected across 9 counties. Officials have not yet released the age or the name of the patient who died.
Well, next, to CTA workers who's become a fixture of the Lincoln Park community. Hear why the neighborhood is throwing a huge party for her this Friday.
But first, let's check in with our Jackie Kostek. She's been giving us a preview of Northside Restaurant Week all morning long, which is actually kicking off tomorrow. Jackie.
Yeah, this is a 2-week restaurant week, and we have moved locations once again. So now we're in a beautiful Italian restaurant called Il Milanese. Did I butcher it? I hope I didn't. Almost. I almost butchered it, but I got close. Okay, anyway, we're on North Lincoln Avenue, and I'm here once again with the CEO of the Lincoln Square Ravenswood Chamber of Commerce, Rudy Flores. Rudy, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so if somebody is overwhelmed by the more than 50 restaurants that are on Northside Restaurant Week, where should they start?
So my approach is go to maybe a community you haven't been to before and look at their restaurants that are participating.
Yes.
Or look at all the different ethnicities we have, because we have Persian, Cambodian, Thai, Italian, Argentinian. So if there's like a cuisine like Cambodian that I'm like really interested in, never tried it, that's what I'm going to do.
That's what you're going to do. Okay, yeah, you've only got 2 weeks, so you got to make them count. And what's amazing about Northside Restaurant Week is the price points range from $17 for a prefix menu all the way up to $85. So you can definitely find something for every price point as well. We'll see you right after the break.
Well, this weekend, neighbors are gathering to honor a CTA worker who spent decades working at the Armitage Brown Line Station.
Yeah, and she has made quite the impression. The Sheffield Neighborhood Association posted on Instagram about celebrating Jen Martin's retirement, and now they're trying to rally as many people as possible to show her some love. They call her the mayor of the Armitage Brown Line Station and queen of Armitage Avenue. The president of the Sheffield Neighborhood Association spoke to Block Club Chicago, saying they got the idea after learning about her retirement in the fall. They say Martin is always in her booth or even outside. She greets people. She gives dog treats. Alderman Brian Hopkins also told Block Club that he's resolution to try and make Friday Janet Martin Day. The fun starts Friday at 2 at the Brown Line Plaza, and all are welcome.
Happy retirement to Ms. Janet.
Yeah, I hope she gets a big party for showing people so much love.
Oh, that's so great. Well, next, a growing timeshare scam centered right here in Chicago. The new victims who've come forward since our first story aired, and how some have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning and great to be with you. I'm Adrena Sinclair.
And I'm Dana Kozlov. It's 9:30. Thanks so much for staying with us on this Wednesday. This half hour, we are diving into the results of yesterday's primary races. The former chair of the Illinois Republican Party joins us live to talk key takeaways and voter turnout.
And as we aim to hit 50 degrees today, we're also tracking the chances for some rain showers this evening. Hit or miss there. Meteorologist Laura Bannon in the First Alert Weather Center now, timing it all out for us.
Yeah, things have really cleared out nicely. In fact, we're breaking out into some sunshine across parts of the area. All the rain that we had earlier is now out over the lake. We still have a few showers under this cloud deck here, but overall a drying trend is expected as we go to the second half of the day. Evening, there's a small chance for a shower here or there, but again, not a big rain chance there. 40s now, with the exception up toward Mundelein, where it's 37, 41 Midway, Joliet, nice little warm up there, hitting 47 degrees. Middle upper 40s, 50s to the south today. Likely looking at a range of temperatures here today. Cloudy skies, some breaks for a little bit of sunshine, and then that evening shower chance. We'll focus more on that and look ahead toward a colder weekend forecast coming up here shortly.
Okay, Laura, see you then. Thank you. The family of a pregnant woman who went missing 4 years ago hopes to call new attention to her search. Sharitha Morrison was last seen near 69th and Troop in Inglewood. She dropped her daughter off at school but never returned to pick her up. That was in 2021. Morrison's woman's car was found 3 days later. In about an hour, her family's holding a press conference at Daley Plaza to bring attention to her disappearance.
Well, attorneys close to seating a jury in the trial against the man accused in the deadly mass shooting at a 4th of July parade in Highland Park. The suspect was in court for day 2. So far, 11 people have been selected for the jury. They need one more, and they also need 6 alternates to continue. Now, many people who were dismissed admitted that they really would have had a hard time being impartial in this case. The suspect accused of killing 7 people and wounding dozens of others. Opening statements could start on Monday. And court will continue at 10:15 this morning in the murder trial of a Plainfield landlord accused of killing a little boy and stabbing his mother. Yesterday, prosecutors started with their star witness, the mother of 6-year-old Wadia Al-Fayumi. Prosecutors say 71-year-old Joseph Chuba attacked the boy and his mother because they are Muslim and Palestinian. Hanan Shaheen said that Chuba tried to kick them out before the attack and referenced the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. And officers right now still looking for the person who shot and killed a 77-year-old man on Chicago's South Side while he was sleeping in his bed. We first brought you this as breaking news yesterday morning. We were told officers were actually in that area patrolling near 109th and Edbrook when they heard that gunfire. Now, we saw bullet holes not only through the home and the front window, but also through a car parked nearby.
Well, the results are in for Tuesday's primary elections across Illinois.
Yeah, one of the most closely watched races was in Dalton. Lots of eyes on that one. This morning, we do know Mayor Tiffany Henyard lost her seat. Dalton trustee Jason House, her former ally actually, now the Democratic nominee. House won about 88% of the vote. He'll go up against an independent candidate named Cassandra Hobson Jordan in that general election, which is in April.
And yesterday, we saw the highest voter turnout in Dalton, relatively speaking, even though it was still quite low. Only 27% of registered voters cast their ballots. In Cook County, only 1 in 5 registered voters cast a ballot. And in Riverdale, fewer than 1,000 votes were cast for the village president there. For some analysis now, let's bring in Pat Brady, former chairman of the Illinois Republican Party. Thanks so much, Pat, for being here.
Morning, ladies.
Morning.
Let's start with that voter turnout. You know, it was just low across the board. Not surprising when it's not, you know, a big race, for instance, president, governor, etc. But what does that mean, and what does it mean heading into the general election in April?
Well, it's horrible news because a very small group of people control the processes in these municipalities, and that's not good for democracy. I mean, if you don't vote, you don't have any input, and we tend to get people that maybe don't do the right things, like Tiffany and some of the other people that we've seen have gotten in trouble over the decades. So it's a bad trend. It's a bad development. I wish people would engage, but they just don't seem to in these municipal races.
Yeah.
And I thought, speaking of Tiffany Henyard, that with all the controversy surrounding it and it's making national attention, I thought more than 27% of people.
Oh, it was so outrageous. All the entire press debacle, everything she said, and the allegations of what she has, allegedly done. Crazy stuff. You'd think everybody would be out, but everybody that did come out pretty much voted against her, so that's the good news.
Yeah, almost 1,000 people did vote for her there.
Which is crazy.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I mean, she's done nothing for her constituents. And again, if you read the report that Mayor Lightfoot came up with, and the other things, like she just basically fleeced the place.
You know what I thought was interesting too yesterday when it came to primaries was the Cicero race.
Yeah.
Because Larry Dominic has been entrenched as village president there for 20 years. He won a 6th term. However, his opponent actually got, I think it was 43% of the vote. Did that surprise you at all? Because, that's kind of a fiefdom.
Yeah, it is a fiefdom, but that's still a pretty big win. I mean, 57-40, that's a big win. So, but again, that's a very low turnout place. The BGA did an article about 12 years ago on Cicero, just really laying out, I thought very well, Andy Shaw wrote it, about how this just leaves everything in the control of a small group of people, and you get the kind of public service you'd expect when it's controlled by insiders.
Does it, I'm sorry, real quick, does it indicate at all those percentages that maybe Cicero residents are moving towards this change slowly?
No, I don't think so. The numbers are just too small. It'd be tough to beat him. But again, it's not a great development. But you get more people to vote, maybe. But I don't think it's any big trend.
Yeah, 1 in 5 people in Cook County voted. It's such apathy that we're seeing here. It seems like.
Yeah, maybe we should start teaching it more in schools, the importance of voting. I mean, it was drilled into my head back in, in my in the olden days.
I'm not far behind you there, Pat.
Yeah, okay. All right, whatever. Remember that. It was tough. We walked to school, right, in the snow.
Yes, we did. Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I lost a shoe once.
I went to school at Abraham Lincoln. It was great.
But you digress.
Yeah, but I digress. But we were, I think, taught more. I think the curriculum was more geared towards the importance of voting and civics and things like that. I think we've gotten away from that, and we need to emphasize that. I mean, I tell my kids, you don't vote, you don't have a house.
Yeah.
You can't stay with me. So I think just as a parent, that's how I've taught it. And I wish we emphasized it more because we get bad results. We get people like Tiffany, you know, that it's great news, but it's horrible if you live there.
Yeah, maybe my dad always said the pendulum swings. Maybe we'll swing back towards voting more. We'll have to see.
I hope so. People need to have more faith in government, and we need to up the dialogue, but no one's listening to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, we need more parents like you that's telling their kids, no voting, no house.
Yeah, I told them that. You wait till election day.
My parents and my kids hear the same. They're like, you need to vote. This is your voice, baby.
Yeah.
All right, Pat Birdie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
See you.
Well, today the Chicago City Council expected to vote on Mayor Brandon Johnson's controversial plan to issue $830 million in new bonds. They would pay for repairs to streets and bridges and buildings. The mayor says those repairs really needed and is defending his plan, saying it's a matter of safety.
If we ignore the cost of these maintenance and repair projects, it will only cost us more in the long run. So doing maintenance on a bridge is much more affordable than repairing for a bridge collapse.
Now, opponents of the mayor's plan say it could be just disastrous for Chicago's long-term financial health, specifically saying that the way that debt payments are structured would mean that paying this money back, the cost of borrowing it, would be about $2 billion, so double the amount of money.
Well, timeshares can go from creating happy memories to big headaches, especially if an owner wants out. That's where scammers come in, promising owners they can sell them at a profit, but instead pocketing all the cash. 2 years after I reported on a Chicago-focused scam, dozens more victims came forward saying the same thing happened to them. One victim after another. How much money are you out right now?
$270,000.
Tells the same story.
At the end, I paid $206,000 for nothing.
Life savings, homes, pensions, gone. All of it given to people claiming to work for a firm called Intercontinental Realty, who called these victims with a promise to sell their Mexico timeshares for a profit.
The scam is the same. So they'll offer a large amount of money, $1 million profit, a $2 million profit, just to hook them and reel them in. Once they're reeled in, they start charging them fees.
Chicago private investigator Joe McGreal's been tracking this scam for 3 years. He began investigating after this victim, who didn't want to be identified, hired him to get his $300,000 back from that same company.
Greed drove this thing. Yeah, I kept, the little voice in the back of my head kept saying, there's just something not right here.
On its website, Intercontinental Realty listed its address at 7 West Madison in the Loop, but both McGreal and myself quickly learned no such company existed at that address. Hi there. Question for you. And never had. We then called the company's listed number several times. No one called us back. And then, after our original story aired in August of 2022, McGreal got calls from a dozen other victims.
I found your broadcast, and that's why I walked in and I said, look, you need to look at this.
Including this couple, who also don't want to be identified. His wife lost almost everything.
I filed with the FBI in September 2021. For the IC3, a matter of fact, I did it twice, and I haven't heard a word.
This man, who also wants to protect his identity, lost everything too.
I wish I could get my money back. I mean, I don't want them to screw anybody else over, but give me my money back.
The dozen clients that I represent, there's everywhere from $5,000 loss to $1.3 million.
The total is roughly?
The total is over $4.3 million, give or take.
McGreal also called the FBI, offering to practically hand agents his case file.
The agencies involved with enforcing these laws are not doing anything about it.
Give me an example.
The FBI. The FBI was contacted by half a dozen clients in half a dozen states. They were informed to file a complaint on their website. They did that. Haven't heard back in 2 years.
Since our original story, the Intercontinental Realty website was taken down.
I filed all of the complaints with law enforcement.
Attorney Jennifer Hardy, who handles timeshare-related cases, isn't surprised.
These scams are fluid. They're contacting thousands of potential victims.
McGreal says all of his evidence leads to scammers in Mexico, and he's still determined to shut them down. Do you think realistically you'll be able to get some of this money back?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I'm not going to stop until I do.
An FBI spokesperson says the agency can't confirm any ongoing investigation, but did say that timeshare scams are on the rise. And according to the FBI, the stolen money goes straight to help fund Mexican cartels. Well, next in today's Jumpstart, we are restaurant hopping and getting a preview of Northside Restaurant Week, which starts this weekend.
Well, we've got a couple more warm days before a weekend cool down. I'm tracking the drop in temperatures and the rain that still lingers out there in your First Alert forecast.
Well, you know, Audrina, if you're already missing Chicago Restaurant Week, which ended a few weeks ago, much to your dismay, I know.
I know.
You can head to the North Side this weekend, where more than 50 restaurants are offering fixed price menus.
Nice. Northside Restaurant Week covers 9 Chicago neighborhoods. It starts tomorrow and then runs until March 9th, so you got some time to make your reservations. Jackie Kostek's been checking out some of the restaurants all morning. Jackie, thank you so much for bringing us inside these restaurants to give us a peek.
Dana and Audrina, of course, it has been absolutely my pleasure to show 4 amazing restaurants, all different kinds of cuisine. And I really do think that Northside Restaurant Week is special because I don't know about you guys, but with Chicago Restaurant Week, as much as I love it, there are so many restaurants that it can be a little bit overwhelming. So this is a smaller subset, although it does cross several different neighborhoods, which is very cool. Now we are in Lincoln Square on North Lincoln Avenue, and I'm here with Carlo Mangi, who is the one of the partners here at Il Milanese.
Bravissima, brava, yes, Il Milanese.
Carla, I mean, I can't, my Italian is just not very good. But yours is quite good because you were actually born and raised in Milan, which is sort of the name of the restaurant. What did you want to create when you opened this place 2 years ago?
Well, I have a couple of partners. We're working together many years in a very famous place in Chicago. And we want to try to reproduce this Milanese restaurant feeling, featuring some dishes that they were out of the radar for a while, you know. And we decided to, you know, do something small, cozy, in a very upcoming neighborhood that the three of us love very much.
Yes.
So Lincoln Square is a niche.
Yes.
And we love to be here. So
you're really going to get like true Italian, Milan sort of style,
Milan
part
style.
of Milan
Of course,
style.
we have some classic Italian dishes, you know, but we try to focus ourselves in little specific little things that you know, I think they can make the difference.
Well, I love what you're doing here because I actually had one of the best meals of my entire life in Milan many years ago. It was a truffle risotto. Let's start with, this is some of the items that you can find on the Northside Restaurant Week menu here at Il Milanese. Let's start at this end, and what are we looking at?
You're looking at the focaccia alpina. It's a focaccia bread, very popular in Milano and North Italy in general. We call alpina because we use in flavor from the Alps. There is a taleggio cheese, there is a smoked speck, which is a kind of a prosciutto, even though it's not really a prosciutto, and it's topped with sauté mixed mushroom. So Alps or mountain flavor.
Oh my gosh.
This is a classic dish from, not really from Milano, but from the Italian cuisine. It's a fiori di zucca, the zucchini blossom. They are filled with ricotta, mozzarella, parmigiano, mint. They are tempura style. So they are fried tempura style, and they are drizzled with a honey truffle.
Yes.
So they give a little kick of sweet and sour.
Yeah.
That I love it. So
we got to move kind of quickly on the last 3.
All right, panna cotta, of course, with a strawberry tartare, very classic. It's a vanilla panna cotta. We do have this is something particular: the short ribs, beef short ribs. We are braised with a rattalino Barbera, which is my favorite wine.
Yes.
Served with risotto parmigiana. And one of the main courses is also risotto mare monti, risotto land and sea. We use a porcini mushroom, we use a calamari and shrimp. So it's a combination of land and and see.
Carlo, I feel like I'm in absolute dreamland right now. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for coming in.
We didn't even mention the cocktails, but look at how beautiful the cocktails are too. I wish we didn't have to go, but ladies, I think I'm just going to stay here and just dive into all of this spread. But they, of course, are on this Northside Restaurant Week among 50 plus restaurants that you can explore starting tomorrow, but anytime as well. But it goes through March 9th. Ladies, back to you.
Yeah, you know, Jackie, it's Friday somewhere. Isn't that the saying?
It's Friday somewhere. I don't know. It's 5 o'clock. It's Friday. I'm going to go in on this spread, let me tell you.
Isn't it? It's 5 o'clock somewhere?
Yes, it is.
Believe
I was
me,
just
it
helping
is.
her out there.
I was like,
Yeah, whatever. It works. It works.
Yep, thanks,
Yeah.
Jackie.
Tomato.
Enjoy.
Yes.
Bon
Of
appetit,
course.
or whatever it is in Italian. What is it in Italian? Do we know? All right, never mind. Moving on.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying,
I was like, don't let me start.
you know,
lying.
whatever bon appetit is in Italian. I don't know though.
That sounds
so.
good to me, though.
Yeah, that's
Bon appetit.
French.
Yeah,
we'll go with French.
It works.
Yeah. Lucky Jackie.
We know what you're trying to say.
Yes.
We're gonna eat. We got it.
Exactly. Now, speaking of Friday, and Friday's going to be a good day here. Maybe some patios could open.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, it might be a little,
Maybe get a little
sloshy,
crazy
a little
and-
wet, a little dirty, but hey, it'll be a good time.
Yeah. Well, at least you're outside.
Exactly. That's all that matters. Yeah, you got to take advantage of these nice couple of days before that weekend cool down. Now, even as we transition and look at those cooling changes for the weekend, we're just looking at typical March temperatures. Rolling into Friday, now we are talking about a big warm up for that day. Highs upper 50s near 60 degrees. Comes along with a whole lot of wind. In fact, we've got winds potentially cranking between 40 upwards of 50 miles per hour. That's going to be signaling these changes that we monitor going into Saturday, Sunday. Cold looks like it's going to be short-lived here. So a couple of days there where we're in the 30s. Saturday, the coldest day, a high of 34, and we're up to the upper 30s on Sunday, 38 degrees. Comes along with a lot of wind, especially on Saturday, so wind chills will be a factor for the start of the weekend, feeling more like the 20s, which is definitely going to be a shock to the system, especially when the day before we see highs upper 50s near 60. Here's your live look all around Chicago. We've got lots of clouds breaking out into a little bit of sunshine across parts of the area. Short window there where you can catch the sunshine, but I do think that those clouds are going to be around for a better part of the day. First alert radar, rain has moved out of here, out over the lakes. Still have a few stragglers out there to the south into parts of northwest Indiana, but that's going to be the trend through the rest of the day. Just a small chance for a stray shower. That goes all the way into the evening hours. 40s now. We're coolest along the shoreline now. Up toward Waukegan is 37, 40 O'Hare, 41 in the Loop. Break out toward Joliet, Morris, Kankakee, finding temperatures in that direction in the middle 40s. Likely going to be breaking out into the upper 50s late in the day today. So a range in temperatures expected for your Wednesday afternoon. By 10 o'clock, here's those showers I was just talking about approaching from the northwest. Swings on through. Clouds will dominate going into tomorrow and cooler temperatures, but we're still above where we should be. 47 here this afternoon. Stray shower chance that goes through this evening. Tonight, 36 degrees for the low. Tomorrow, steady as we go. We're still in the middle upper 40s for highs, and then we turn this around quickly going into Friday, a high of 59 degrees. You have harsh winds and strong winds in place for the end of the week, and then the winds have changed. Saturday down to 34, upper 30s, short-lived. We go back to the 40s and 50s for next Monday, Tuesday, with shower chances by Tuesday.
Nice. We get it again?
Yeah, we can keep it going.
I love it. All right, well, join us tonight at 6:30 p.m. for our Black History Month special. It's called Honoring Excellence, and we're going to introduce you to innovators and teachers and legends who've all made a difference. That's tonight at 6:30 p.m. You can watch it right after our 6 o'clock news. And now here's Mr. Ernest Krim III with our latest Black History lesson.
Don't try to fix the students. Fix ourselves first. The good teacher makes the poor student good and the good student superior. When our students have failed, we as teachers too have failed. Marva Collins. What's up, y'all? It's Mr. Ernest Krim III, your favorite Black History teacher, and class is back in session. We're talking about the work of education this year. So put your phone away and grab a pen and pad to take notes, because I'm liable to give you a pop quiz at any moment. All right, y'all, today's bell ringer question is this. If you had to create the perfect teacher, what type of qualities would they have? Today, we'll talk about one of the greatest educators in American history, Marva Collins. Born in Alabama in 1936, Collins eventually made her way to Chicago, where she changed the game in education forever. Frustrated by the lack of quality and care for black children in the public school system, Marva decided to do something revolutionary. She created her own school. In 1975, Marva Collins founded the West Side Preparatory School in her own home in Chicago. Her goal? To provide an excellent education for children who have been labeled as slow learners or unteachable. But Collins didn't just teach academics. She taught her students self-respect, resilience, and the power of their own minds. Her teaching style combined high expectations with an unshakable belief in her students' abilities. She introduced them to subjects many believed her students couldn't handle, but Marva proved them wrong. Because of that, her methods gained national attention. By the 1980s, Collins' work was so transformative that she was invited to consult with educators across the country, and she was even offered the position of U.S. Secretary of Education, a role she respectfully declined to keep working with her students. She knew where she was needed the most. In fact, she's also needed now. Now for your exit ticket. How can we, as a community, take Marva Collins' example and apply it to the way we educate our children today? What lessons can we take from her focus on high expectations and cultural pride? Write your answer down and then hit me up online at Mr. Krim3 or at CBS Chicago. All right, y'all, class is dismissed. I'll see you next time.
Welcome back, everyone. Here's a look at the stories that we are keeping an eye on today.
Federal investigators are looking into how a Southwest flight nearly hit this private jet at Midway. The video here shows that Southwest plane trying to land, but it sharply climbs back up when the jet crosses its path. There are some initial findings out this morning from the FAA saying the business jet, the one that entered on the left there, entered the runway without authorization.
The family of a pregnant woman who went missing 4 years ago hopes to call new attention to her search. Charitha Morrison was last seen in 2021 near 69th and Troop in Inglewood. She dropped her daughter off at school but never returned to pick her up. Her family's holding a press conference this morning in the next 30 minutes.
Embattled incumbent Mayor Tiffany Henyard lost yesterday's mayoral primary to trustee Jason House. He won about 88% of the vote and will face an independent candidate named Cassandra Hobson-Jordan in the general election in April. Only 27% of registered voters in Dalton actually came out to cast their ballots.
All right, 3 more days where we're above the norm with our temperatures 40s, 50s, near 60 on Friday. That's going to be the warmest day out of this entire stretch. Comes along with a lot of wind. Wind will carry over, shift going into Saturday as those temps go down to more seasonable levels. A little bit seasonably cool, actually. 34 on Saturday, near 40 on Sunday, and then we're back in business again for next week, Monday, Tuesday, highs 40s, 50s.
Back in business.
Yeah, great way to start March. I mean, of course, it dips for the weekend, right? You know,
I know, but that's when we get more sun. So.
Oh, well then it's
a wash.
It's a wash.
There we
in a
go.
good way. Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us here on the news at 9. Your local news continues right here on the stream.
Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.